Hey guys, what is up? It's Kat here. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me for our second to last post Bad Batch chat. You guys, I'm just gonna preface this right now while I can still speak. This might be an incredibly choppy and just all over the place review because my mind is just everywhere at the moment, and there's so much that I want to talk about. Some of it I may leave out. I may go on just tangents. So yes, warning ahead of time, that might be the path we're on this evening following tonight's episode. But holy smokes, just like, there's just so much. There's so much. Okay, alrighty. First things first, I think I need to come out and say, I don't want the things that I said in my Bad Batch Hopes video to, in any way, shape, or form make it seem like I would be unhappy if the events turned in a completely different direction and went down a completely different, turn of events or whatever, a completely different path. That video just consisted not of my, serious predictions, but just of things that I would have wanted to see in this show. But as the season progressed, it became increasingly clear that some of the things that I had previously envisioned, such as seeing Darth Vader, because I really was thinking there was so much hype around the fact that there could be Vader in this show, yada yada yada, before the show came out and all that good stuff. So I was totally on the train of folks wanting to see Lord Vader's appearance in this finale, thinking that he was gonna show up and be tearing it up and there was gonna be this super epic huge cameo. But looking back on that in hindsight and seeing where we have come with this show now and with this first portion of this two-part finale here, I think it's safe to say that this is, I love this route better, I think. How do I explain this in a way that's gonna sound like English and make sense? The show is coming to a climax, to a point that doesn't have to rely on such a cameo as significant as Vader's. It doesn't have to rely on, say, a clone uprising featuring all of our favorite clones and Rex coming back and leading the charge and whatnot. It doesn't have to rely on all of these external pre-established characters or factors to generate this super wicked hype finale. Because what this episode did was come to the boiling point that we have been waiting for with these specific characters, and that has reminded me that this show, first and foremost, is the story of the Bad Batch. It is about these characters and their place within the larger scheme of the Star Wars, the galaxy, the universe, whatever. Their place within the grand scheme of the timeline, the story. And you know what? I'm so happy about that, because this episode brought us to a point that I have just been craving with this show. The tension of Crosshair's, relationship with the group, that whole dynamic that has been, building throughout the season. It has finally come down to this point. And you know what? This is epic enough. This, for me, I was so satisfied with the way this episode played out. The tension unfolding into this finally, we have this climactic encounter that we have just been waiting for and almost fearing amongst Crosshair and the rest of the group, and what was going to go down when they could finally get to him and try to reason with him and try to explain to him his situation and his ordeal. And they just completely took everything that we were expecting and chucked it out the window. First of all, oh my god, this is what's driving me, oh my gosh. Okay, introducing the fact that what I've been saying, pretty much affirming everything that I've been saying this entire season, which is the fact that Crosshair himself is still in there, and he still can think for himself, and his conscience and his personality and the piece of him that makes him Crosshair, his soul, is still partially buried in there beneath all of the manipulation that he has endured under the hand of the Empire. And this episode not only affirmed that, but brought to life the fact that one, oh my gosh, there was just so much tragedy in this episode. The fact that he, this entire time, has felt betrayed and left behind by the rest of the group. Like, that is the saddest. Oh my gosh. The confrontation he has with Hunter, when Hunter is suggesting they're not going to leave me behind, as Crosshair is rightfully predicting that the rest of the squad, the Bad Batch, is going to come and save Hunter because they know nothing else but to save each other, and they're not going to leave him to die. And Hunter is saying, obviously, we don't leave each other behind. And Crosshair pretty much looking at him and saying, that is exactly what you did to me, because not only was this a realization for the audience, but this is a realization for Hunter and the rest of the group as well. Them previously thinking that Crosshair was fully turned, fully unreachable, fully unable to be compromised with, no longer the friend that they once knew, no longer behaving like the brother that they used to live with and fight with alongside. That was their original impression. That's what they have been going around thinking, like, our best friend is not who he used to be. But now them learning that he actually was in there all along and is looking at them saying, yeah, you like left me behind. Did you think I had a choice? Like, you could have helped me get out of there. Like, I was trying to kill you, but I'm still your friend, and you left me here on Kamino. Like, in a way, does he almost blame them? Like, does he have this resentment that has just been building up inside of him all season long, thinking that they got away and he was the one that had to be left behind? They didn't even try to get him out or help him escape. The fact that he has that resentment, and we're learning that he like actually was aware of his circumstances and his situation, and perhaps the entire time was feeling left behind and abandoned by his friends, and thinking that they didn't help him in that scenario, changes like everything. Not to mention now this huge other plot twist on top of that to even more like twist our brains and make us start theorizing what the heck is going on. But the concept that he has had his inhibitor chip removed. He has been doing all of this on his own accord, his own will. Like, the entire time we've been thinking, no, he's totally been manipulated and he's just a puppet for the Empire now, and he's doing all these terrible things, but he's really still inside there, and he wouldn't be doing all these things if it wasn't for his inhibitor chip that the Kaminoans used against him. But now the concept and the thought of, no, I had my chip removed like a long time ago. Plot twist, psych, I got you. There are obviously a number of reasons that he would be, being loyal to the Empire. One, he's obviously aware of the fact. He's not stupid. He's clearly smart. He knows that he has been on thin ice as they've been gradually phasing out the clone trooper program and replacing them with the TKs, the volunteers, the people that they would rather have fighting for them because they're trying to get rid of the clones. He is aware of that. He is aware of the instability of his position, the lack of security that he has there. And so obviously he's not going to fall out of line. He's going to become Rampart's best man, his right-hand man, and do whatever he says, because he's very aware that he is expendable in the eyes of Tarkin and Rampart, and that they could easily, with the snap of their fingers, have him gone, and that the only thing that is keeping him around is his enhancements and his special abilities and what makes him special and an asset, and that is the only reason that he is still there. But I'm really curious to find out where they took the rest of the clones, and also just any of the embryos, or like the clones in training, like the kids. Like, what did they do with all of them? Crosshair's obviously not stupid, so that is one reason why he on his own accord could be, serving the Empire so studiously, because he knows the reality of his situation. And, without the rest of his squad with him, he can't act alone against the Empire, and has to act with them in order to keep himself alive. So I want to buy into the fact that this is not just him being a terrible person on his own, his own will, but I also love this twist that he has been doing this all on his own accord and without the tweaking of his inhibitor chip forcing him to do it like a puppet, because this just makes the conflict and the tension so much more dynamic and interesting. Because previously, and I've been guilty of saying this the entire season, the plan would have been, I'm sure, when the Bad Batch could, and if they did, reunite with Crosshair and somehow manage to get him out and take him with them and help him escape or whatever, that their plan of action would be to remove his inhibitor chip, and that he would be totally restored to his old self, and he would be fine, and la-di-da, and everything would be great. But this twist totally throws a wrench in that plan, because it's not even like there's a simple solution to that anymore. They have to reason with Crosshair. Like, if there is no chip in his head, which I'm very curious as to whether or not he is lying. There was no scar indicating he'd had his chip removed. However, they specifically showed Hunter looking at the burns on the side of his head, which leads me to believe that maybe his chip was damaged or destroyed. Is that even possible? Or somehow severely malfunctioning after perhaps he endured those injuries on Braca when he got that huge force. And he did hit his head super hard when he was thrown back as the engine was turned on right in his face. And I remember thinking in that episode, in that moment, oh my goodness, this is so in line with what's been happening with Wrecker this whole time and hitting his head every 5 minutes and then his chip going off. There was an emphasis on how hard Crosshair had hit his head when he was thrown back by that blast. Maybe something happened with his chip then and it had to be removed somehow. Perhaps they took it out differently and it coincides with the scar he has on his head there from the burns. I don't know. The point I'm making is that they specifically made a point to show Hunter turning Crosshair's head over after he had tasered him and looking at his burns and his wounds still healing on the side of his head after he had literally just learned that the chip had been removed. So I am just wondering if it had something to do, some sort of correlation with that accident. He could very well be lying to them, but also my theory is why would the Empire have told him that he had a chip? What would the point of that have been? What would the point have been in risking telling him about the chip and then taking it out in the hopes that his behavior wouldn't be affected? The point is, I love this conflict now so much more, that it's not just this simple solution of, oh, well, let's get him back to the ship and we can go and just take his chip out. That is off the table now, obviously. And this is their best friend now, and they have to reason with Crosshair. They don't have to be reasoning with the inhibitor chip now. They have to be reasoning with their own buddy, who is completely changed and a totally different person. Going and seeing the lab where they were all created, that was very, very, very cool, but it was also really sad. Clearly, Omega had some sort of inhibitions about going there. She was definitely angsty about being in that lab, and the fact that it made her so upset, I feel like leads me to believe that she experienced other experimentation going on in there. And again, just I feel like supports another point I've been saying this entire season, which is that I think Omega knows a lot more than she has let up, and she has a lot of knowledge about, I don't know, but I just found it interesting that she seemed to know everything about how they were created, and that also the Kaminoans somehow admitted to her that that is where she was born, in the lab, or that she somehow came to figure that out on her own. I don't know. And finally, I just, oh my gosh, as soon as I can't believe they did us this dirty, showing us that montage of just the emptiness of Kamino, which we have only ever seen just like bustling with thousands and thousands and thousands of clones, and to show us the compilation of just the empty mess hall, the empty embryo chambers, how it was completely evacuated, completely still, completely calm, right before they blew it to smithereens. And not to mention hearing Tarkin say the magic line, as epic as it is to hear him say that line, to just like, oh my god. And I know this is gonna be so stupid because it is animated and everyone's like, why would you get so upset over an animated show? But after being on Kamino so much during the Clone Wars, and just see it not only being completely empty and devoid of life, but then to see it being literally destroyed and sinking into the water. Oh my god, I mean, I know this entire season I've literally been begging, I've literally been saying, let's go back to Kamino, 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 Kamino. I just want to see Kamino. We've literally not gone to Kamino at all. And now, the one episode where we go back to Kamino, they blow it up. Yeah, I feel like that's gonna just make it even more difficult to go and rewatch the Clone Wars whenever I may do that again. This place that we have spent so much time, literally where the clones, like, they're the clones' home. Absolutely obliterated, and now who knows where all the clones are, scattered across the galaxy, maybe imprisoned, who knows. That really hit me in the feels, and Alex made a great point of this during the live stream, but it honestly has been one of the first times, I feel like, since the premiere episode, the 70-minute long premiere, that I really felt in the feels. It hurts because seeing it just fall into the water like that, and knowing there are no clones left on Kamino, really just symbolizes like that is the fall of the clone era, the point of no return, and it is the beginning of a new age. And there are no clones in this new age. Yeah, that was really hard to watch, but I knew that bad things were in store as soon as they started to show us that little montage of just the empty halls and the empty mess hall and just everything empty. I feel like those were all the main points that I want to say. I've already been rambling for like 30 minutes here. I may be missing other topics, other things, but the main things I really appreciated about this episode were just the finally getting the reunion between Crosshair and the rest of the group, and learning what has been going on in his mind, learning what he has been thinking, learning now that he has had some resentment against his buds, thinking that they left him behind. I really don't know how it's going to end at this point, and the fact that there is a confirmed season 2 now, though, really threw off whatever predictions I may have had in terms of how the finale was going to go down for this season, now that the prospect of having another season has been confirmed, and we know that they don't have to necessarily tie up every single loose end here, because there will be another season, thank goodness, which is what I have been hoping for all along. So I was super happy about that news, but I am just so happy with this cliffhanger. I'm so curious to see what the final conflict is going to be in the final episode, how it's going to end, if it's going to end on a cliffhanger or not, if they're going to bring in Rex for something. Like, I just would like to see maybe just one more cameo or something big in the final episode, but I have no doubt that it's gonna be awesome. All right, I know that was really rough, that was all over the place, but honestly, I'm kind of so upset about Kamino, and I'm so exhausted. I need to go. Thank you guys as always so much for watching. I'm sorry that I don't have any more monumental predictions or anything going into the finale. I feel like I will be happier with it if I just go into it open-minded with no expectations, no predictions, no wishes, no anything, and I just let it play out. But do feel free, please share your predictions below. As always, I love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys as always so much for watching. May the force be with you guys always, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.